Sam, I was wondering about the health status of Grant, if you think he'll be able to play anybody else.
Grant's doing good. He practiced the entire time Monday and Tuesday, and we expect him to today. So I think he's going to be just fine. Other guys, I think the rest of them's fine. Off the head, I can't think of anybody that wouldn't be available.
Okay. And you said on the SEC teleconference that each of the drives that bogged down in the red zone, there was the mistakes. I know you want to call anybody out, but was it blocking assignments? Was it, the track for running backs, KJ? I mean, what was going on?
I've got it sitting right here in front of me. Most of it all was just blocking assignments, whether it could be the wideout, whether it could be the O-line. We're having a little bit of trouble of figuring out first force outside. If you saw the Kern's 2 catches out in the flats, if we called it again, if I was Kern, I'd looked over there and said, no, I'm not running it. My Lord, he was getting smoked over there. So we got to fix that. We have, but I asked them to do a study. I knew the answer, but I asked them to do a study of the 4 drives that we kicked field goals on, and every one of them ended up on mental assignments, and we had to clean that up. We go out there and play an SEC team. We got to get those 7 points at any time we have opportunities.
Coach, kind of follow up on that. You said you got to clean it up. How does that look? Is it a matter of looking at it on film or taking extra drill work and practice? How do you go about cleaning that up?
Well, you're 100% right. We worked on it for 2 periods yesterday. Now, part of that is, I'm not blaming the kids now. I'm blaming me. It's got to all get fixed. And part of that is, we had some young kids in the game at the time and learning experience for them, but I'd rather them learn in practice and be right in the game, so we're going to get better there. And that's we means all of us, not just a young man that made the mistake. But yeah, the only way I know how to correct something is go work on it. And that's what we did in individual yesterday.
And then also, whether it be because of injuries or targeting penalties, you haven't had all 3 of your linebackers available at one time very much yet. But when you have all 3 of them, how do you determine kind of the rotation? Is it kind of a feel for it, or is it determined ahead of time? How do you determine which 2 guys are out there at one time?
We have a coaches meeting every Saturday morning. It's how we're going to play the players. And so in that meeting, if there's not a whole heck of a lot of difference in this guy, that guy, and that guy, it's really, really easy to stay with the formula. We want, let's say, for instance, Bump to come out, we use a 75 play game. Let's say that we want him coming out with 50 and somebody else with 50, maybe Grant to get 65 or whatever it may be. And so we kind of have a formula there on how we're going to play them, when we're going to put them in. I believe if you're going to put somebody in the game, you need to put them in early to get used to what's going on out there. So you can talk to them a little bit about what's happening. They can relay messages back to what's going on the field. But we have that, and we stay with it for the most part. Now, if there is a significant amount of difference between the players, or if there's an inexperienced player and all heck's breaking loose on the field like Rice, sometimes those numbers, don't quite, nobody wants to play an inexperienced guy at those times in the game. So we try to have that done on Saturday and talk about it. And that's kind of the formula, how we do it.
Nate.
Just looking at last year's tape, what is Tomlin, kind of what problems does he present at quarterback for Georgia State?
Big time athlete, he throws the ball well as well, but what, in their first 2 games, I think they've pitched the ball in their option 4 times. And then you turn his in there, and he's going to pitch it if he needs to pitch. He's going to keep it if he needs. He's going to hand it off. So, he's got experience at it. Very good athlete, elusive, fast. I like him. A good thrower. I think that coach is doing exactly what he needs to do with his talent, running that option. And he's got a big back. I like that big back. That he rushed for, I don't know what it was, 150 plus in the first game, where they just run and power with him in inside zone off the option, with the threat of option as well.
Thank you.
Trey.
Hey, Coach. So you mentioned earlier that you didn't like practice yesterday. I guess the energy or enthusiasm. What do you think led to that? And is that just as simple as with these guys bringing it up to them in terms of fixing it?
Practice is hard. If it's not hard, then it's probably not right. And I felt that I didn't feel the same even in the meetings. I don't think it's a wake-up call. I showed them yesterday 3 different teams that had won big games, and then the next week got beat by unranked opponents. And I just said, hey, you get the drift in here. We are Arkansas, and the way we have had some, a little success is because we roll up our sleeves and we go to work. And we didn't do that to our standards, which are as high as anywhere in the country. And I have zero doubt that we'll have a good practice today.
What's your thoughts on Georgia Southern offensive line? Any players stand out? I guess what they do schematically.
Well, the one thing that stands out, Trey, is all 5 of them are back. So, it might be difficult. That's difficult for anybody to teach their schematics, in their first year there. Well, every one of them's back. They've got a lot of offense now. I mean, they can go from 5 wide to running the option. It just depends on, I guess, how they're feeling at the time. Maybe if they get behind like they did last week, they were tossing around like crazy. And if they're ahead, I think my feeling of watching them is they want to be an option team. But I like their offensive line. They're not quite as tall. You're looking at 6'3", 6'4", maybe a 6-foot guy that's going to have built-in leverage, just because of his height. But they'll fly off the football. And same thing kind of on their D-line, Trey. Their nose guard's a really good player. He's 6 foot tall. And then they've got a defensive end, number 2, that I really like too. But told our team, when you go to Georgia, and you can look anywhere in the state of Georgia, but if you want to go find one that guaranteed tough, go to South Georgia. And he got a lot of kids from down there. And so we know they're going to be an extremely tough, physical, hard-playing team, just like their offensive line is.
Bob.
Hey, Sam, how you doing? I had
Bob.
a couple. I know you've been asked a lot about Ridgeway, but I had a couple more. He didn't ease his way into, playing for you guys. He's playing Texas prime time, all that. What'd you think about the way he played in his first game for you guys on such a big stage?
Ridge is just a special guy. I mean, came in here, fit in great with the team when he first came in because he's a worker, he's an old wrestler. And there was several plays. I liked the sack and all those things, but he ran basically hash to hash one time and caught one of Texas players. And that's what we saw on his tape, from his other college. And he's just a great teammate. And he is what I call Arkansas. He is physical and has a little chipness to him where, hey, I got to prove something. And he fit in really well for us.
And based on his camp, which I assume was pretty good, and based on how he played the other night, what are your expectations for him moving forward?
More and more, better and better. He'll do it too because he's a worker. And he's got, a big body, 6'5", 6'6", 3 1/4, and he can run. But he's one of them guys you can pat on the back and he's going to play harder and better versus, man, I am pretty good. I don't think he really ever gets that feeling. I think he's one of those guys, like a lot of kids on our team, that man, I can play better. And I think he will. I think, that was his first really big time ball game. Now, I'm sure they had big games where he came from, but, in that atmosphere.
One more quick, you said on a call today that you got diagnosed the appendicitis pretty early. I've never had that, thankfully. Is that a deal where you just say, oh, my stomach doesn't feel good, and you guys get it checked out, or how'd you get on
Yeah,
that?
he was actually in a meeting before practice. I'll tell you when it was the mock game. And the day before, he had felt kind of bad and was throwing up, stomach was hurting and different things. And then he was sitting in a meeting. And then when we got to practice, they said, yeah, he's not going to come out. He's in there throwing up. And Dave did a great job of analyzing him, and we got him in there real fast. I think it was a lot easier surgery because it was diagnosed so quickly.
Hey, thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Scotty.
Hey, Coach, I was looking at Pro Football Focus earlier and saw that Warren Thompson, I believe, is fourth in snaps at receiver, and he had a few catches, against Texas. What do you like about him, and what do you see for him moving forward?
Well, again, he's a guy that goes to work. He's improved his blocking. He's always been able to run routes and catch the ball. I teased with him yesterday before practice that I got tired of people asking me who number 84 was. And I said, there's about 5 or 6 people in the crowd knows who you are now. At least they didn't ask me who's 84. I was teasing him, but he's a hard worker. Doesn't say anything, never hardly talks, got really good hands, and there's one that's going to get better as the season goes on too. He's still, I think he's thinking a little bit right now, to be honest with you. Not in his routes, but in his assignments. I think he's getting better and better, but I think he's playing a little slower than what he will, just because he's not positive about what's going on. He's getting close, but still has a few plays that he's playing a little slower than I'd like.
Lastly, Cam Little got his first SEC award earlier in the week. Just curious what you thought about what he's brought to your kicking game so far and just the confidence you have in him.
Well, y'all were at the spring game, you come a long way since then. And he's as confident as you can be right now. And I'm as confident as you possibly could be in him. And, what's amazing is when you throw a guy out there and you're really not, I never even think about anything but, all right, get the kickoff team ready, because he make them in practice and make them in the game. So I've been really proud of him, and he's done a great job. Amazing how strong a leg he has for not a very big dude, but that's like me in a golf swing, I don't want to play with a small guy at golf because he drives me by 100 yards, it's not any fun.
Let me know if we got more questions in the chat. Tom?
Hey, Sam, my question's about your scout for the defense. Is it hard to set up an offensive scout, and they're not used to doing that? And is it Renfro and Coley running quarterback?
Coley. Yeah, I'd even guys today, we're going to do a little bit 2 versus 1, 1 versus 2, and a little bit of service, just so Malik can run the option against them a little bit. I think he needs to. And we also obviously run the option some with Malik, but I think our scout team was part of the problem yesterday. I don't think we did a great job on either side of the ball on the scout team, and they're so valuable to us. And so today I'm going to do a little bit more 2 versus 1, 1 versus 2 in our good on good sessions, which there's not many of them. There might be 12 plays all the day in practice, but those 12, we're going to do it 2 versus 1, 1 versus 2, so we can, service a little bit, get that look at a faster pace.
Last one, Bob.
Hey, Sam, I get what you were saying Monday about, last year, whether you guys had a big win or a tough loss, the team always responded the next week, but that was against an all SEC schedule. You're always playing another SEC team. Is it any different when, all due respect to Georgia Southern, they're obviously not an SEC team. They're coming off a 32-point loss, I guess it is. I mean, is it any different trying to get your guys ready for a non-conference game versus an SEC game?
I would think so. I mean, we've already proven that we weren't ready to play against Rice, so obviously it wasn't easy for us to get our team prepared, ready for that, because we didn't play any good, at least offensively, in that game for at least 2.5 quarters. And so we certainly have looked back at that in the mirror, it's easy to blame the kids for stuff, but the kids basically, they'll do whatever we ask them to, and we've got to continue to be, and I'm talking about me, a better coach. So I learned a lot from the Rice game, and certainly hope that doesn't happen to us on Saturday, that we go out and be the best team we can be, and whatever the score ends up being at that point, if we play well, then we can live with it.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, everybody.